Hello, and welcome to day 4 of the Conscious Capitalism Expanded Virtual Conference. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to be here with another thought leader in the Conscious Capitalism community, who is also now a member of the board of directors at Conscious Capitalism. As you know, we are trying to highlight members of the community who have specific examples of how we can respond in our industries and in our community to the COVID-19 outbreak and the ensuing health and financial crises that many of us are facing. And one of the ways that we are trying to connect that with the mission of Conscious Capitalism is to share the specific worthy problem that each thought leader is solving through their business and their own personal higher purpose. So if you've not met Safwan before, he is working to solve through his business a way to provide timely access to earned but unpaid wages and other necessary financial services for millions of workers on the front lines. Today, he's going to be sharing with us how his business is a healing source for those businesses and workers that are impacted by this unprecedented crisis. For a little bit more by way of introduction, I'd like to welcome Alexander McGobin, our CEO.
Amanda, thank you again for setting all of this up in that introduction. And I want to call out our team members as we go through this conference because they're doing such incredible work to make all of this possible. And so we're not going to be able to see her face right now, I don't think, but I want to highlight Abby Schwab, who you're interacting with on Slack a lot, I'm sure. Abby has been with Conscious Capitalism for years now, working on our CEO Summit, on the annual conference, and has just been an amazing trooper with this pivot to the virtual conference and leading so much of what we're doing. So when you see her on Slack answering your questions or engaging in discussion, give her a shout out and say thank you. I'm going to say to you right now, Abby, thank you so much for all of your incredible work in making this happen. And with that, I want to thank all of you for joining us again today. One day at a time, we're working to get through this global crisis together. And it's just so heartwarming to me to see how many people are joining these calls each day to come together as a community to learn how we can presence ourselves and what we can do with our businesses and our stakeholders to elevate humanity as much as we can through our businesses and what we do today. And Safwan Shah is just such an incredible conscious capitalist that if you, as Amanda said, if you haven't met him, I'm so thrilled you're going to get to hear from him today. Actually, I'm going to just read from his bio here because Safwan, I love this description for yourself, which is that Safwan is an engineer by training, fintech expert by experience, an entrepreneur by accident. Him starting companies before and starting PayActive right now was not something he set out to do originally. He wanted to do good in the world. He was actually a professor working in the world of ideas before he started PayActive. But by recognizing the power of business and capitalism as a force for good, he went into business again in PayActive and created this amazing organization that's talking about and working with employees to get them access to wages earlier than they normally do, wages that they've earned, that they deserve, that he's even summarized in a book that he published with Conscious Capitalism Press last year called It's About Time. And now with this global crisis, Safwan, you're launching a new initiative to support hourly workers and at-risk employees. Your company is doing incredible work right now to help them. Thank you so much for taking the time to join the rest of the Conscious Capitalism community, to share what you're doing, what's going on, and invite others to support at-risk employees who need help now more than ever. Oh, you're muted.
Am I on?
You're on now. And really quick, I always forget this, but if anyone has questions for Safwan, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Type in your questions at any point. About halfway through, we're going to be able to pivot to take your questions to ask of Safwan, but whenever you have them, feel free to type them into the Q&A box. With that, Safwan, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I can't see you, so it is a little bit, it's a little complex in that way. But I'm here in Northern California in Silicon Valley, exactly 2 miles from the Apple headquarters and maybe 4 miles from Facebook and 3 miles from Netflix, all those services that I think, define our world as it was before COVID-19 hit. All these amazing inventions, creations, amazing things that define life as we believe it should be in this highly evolved state that we are. So today, as I talk to you from my guest bedroom, which the background I can't share with you because there are, after all, better things to see in life, and you have the rainbow behind me, and I hope you can see it. The thought that I want to start with, and I will have PowerPoint slides, I will have a couple of maybe 2 or 3 30 second, 40-second videos, and I'll try to do it all in about 20 minutes, something like that. And then I think we should talk, and you should question me, and I can learn from you, and we can just collaboratively come to some kind of closing that why would it be all right, and why would we be just fine? So that's the spirit with which I want to start. I want to share one thought with you, and I was just thinking about it. I was reading Joseph Campbell, who wrote a book in 1949 called A Hero with a Thousand Faces. And because it's really about the story you want to live in, because the world we live in is our creation, and the world we choose to live in as individuals is also our creation. This is not CEO talk. I always talk like this, okay? So don't say that CEOs have to talk in numbers and stats. I've lived with numbers all my life. I don't like numbers. I like purpose. I like what we do. So in that spirit, I believe just like every person is capable of heroic action by making the right choice. I sincerely believe every business is transformative when it is guided by purpose. And that is what conscious businesses are all about. And that is what lots of conscious businesses, when they get together, create. And that is what we call conscious capitalism. So on that thought, I want to start by telling you a little bit about the work I am doing, my company is doing, we are doing. And other than reading about mythology through Joseph Campbell, there is a lot of work. And about 18, 20 hours every day, we have a few hundred people in our company in several countries, and we're talking to each other and learning so much, because there's several countries involved in our company, and we talk to people in Australia and in Pakistan and in Canada, and everybody is going through the same thing. There is a grand equalization. It is absolutely as if the whole world has the same heartbeat. It's like the great sci-fi story. But anyway, the work we do involves large and small companies of United States. And these companies have employees, and these employees are sometimes paid by shift, paid by task, paid by hour. And they are in the midst of this crisis right now. And they need the money a little more timely than 2 weeks or 1 week, if they have a job. You know that the whole layoff situation has just exploded. So within our network of users, we can actually see who's getting what is politely called deactivated. They did not clock in. It's like the IT version of you got the pink slip, you're gone, your history. And so many businesses that we serve, these things are happening. But this is so one thing that we do when we see somebody who's getting deactivated, we try to communicate, give them a nice message and things like that. But at the same time, we are seeing hours getting reduced of our users. So we have to figure out preemptively that this person will need help, and we reach out to them. So starting from the end, I now want to go to the beginning. So we have hundreds of thousands of people that are using a mobile app that we've provided, and they see the amount of money they've earned up to that moment in time. And we know that from the back end as well. So we can actually do something very, very quickly because we can help them. Whether the word help is right or not, assist them, facilitate some kind of help that they could use. So I want to now share with you 3 very short videos. And these were filmed in January, end of January in Florida. And this was way before COVID-19 had come and kind of impacted all of us. So just bear with me. I think I've become good at this.
Started as an agent. I'm a supervisor. I have 14 years experience with leading from the military. I was given a team of about 19 people, here you go, take them. We need to bring them up to a certain level. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I tried it out first because I just wanted to see how it worked. Like, you're tapping into your own pay. It ain't like you're borrowing money. You're borrowing money from yourself with no interest. It was beneficial for me. I saw that if it could benefit me, it could benefit somebody else. When you get to a new job, you get the dress code, spiel, and all that other stuff. I put the pay active stuff in there too. You need to sign this paper, and here's a pay active announcement. Sign that too, so I could put it in your record. I'm kind of making it mandatory in my team, to have it. Has that benefit? What's it called? The Uber benefit. You don't have transportation. Hey, you ain't got an excuse not to come to work. All you got to do is open up pay active and request that ride, and I'm gonna hold you to that. If you don't have any money, just use pay active. It'll be taken out of your check. So give me another excuse, and it's been working. They're a lot more calm. They're less stressed. It's peace of mind to have pay active.
People are happy, your company's successful. You never can know the struggles that someone is going through. What's the one thing that really worries everybody is money. I've been with Results going on 8 years now. I was actually training a class when Pay Active went live. It's going to give you access to your money before you get paid. Having the ability to see them not be stressed out and being able to pay attention more in class was a huge relief. You don't see the look of gloom and doom when it's the last 3 days before the pay cycle ends. I can honestly say this, you don't see as many people bumming cigarettes on the last 3 days before they get paid.
With my father in the process of passing away, and my husband and I, was low on finances. We were sitting at the gas station with the gas tank on E, and the doctor saying we needed to get back to the hospital, and what are we going to do? And so we did it right there, the gas pump. Automatic transfer, filled my tank up, and went and seen my dad. He's had a mass heart attack. He's had a pacemaker put in. He's had another heart attack while he's been in the hospital. And so, yeah, just using Pay Active to help get through the time. And when we can't wait until the payday because he's not going to be here on this next payday.
So the reason I wanted to share is that this is before COVID-19. This is the state of how many people? 59% of American workforce is shift-based or hourly. 150 million person workforce, of which more than 75 million people are like this, before this crisis. After this crisis, there's no other way to describe it but to show this is how they were before, and we all know the same data. So this is a very big crisis for a very large section of our society. And these are individuals who worked for all kinds of companies, large and small, from Amazon to Walmart to everywhere. And other than a few of the people who can continue to make the same money that was before, or to be in sectors which are not that hurt, bulk of them are getting ready to deal with this crisis in ways that even they don't know. And I would like to go through a few slides just to give you an idea, because to put some sequence to my thinking on this. So if you can confirm that you can see my...
Yes.
Okay. So I thought about it, everyone's given it a lot of thought. And I said, okay, memory lane is beautiful. I can keep thinking about the days gone by. But I'm going to think about the future because that's what most of us are doing. Of course, it has no street lights, but we do know the road. We do know what we are all about, what we do. We have all those systems in place and society functions. And we have to trust the doctors and the science to actually come and help us. We also have exemplars that, who could have thought that, the hope will be an export that we'll get from China. But when you look at the China results, you say, wow, they flattened the curve. So hence it can be done. So, and of course, Italy is doing the same. So I thought that's a good way to look about it. Then when I started thinking about it, it occurred to me that there are two types of vulnerable cross-sections in our society, those that are immunocompromised and so forth. But there's a larger cross-section which is vulnerable in finances. And this crisis, this COVID-19 coronavirus, it is going to have a devastating impact on those that are vulnerable in finances. And there are over 100 million people in the US, and we get all the stats that so many millions don't have $400 in an emergency. And by the way, they didn't get the $400 in this emergency too. There will be a certain system where government stimulus check comes in, and I'll talk about it, how some people will not get it. So what my company does is, some of you understand it, we work with businesses, it's B2B, people have earned hours. My thesis is, and I think the world had a blind spot there for many years, my whole thinking is that if you've got earned hours, then you should be able to turn them into money and services. And that's what we do. We turn time into a service. So you have 20 hours worked, you need 10 hours towards something. You can put it in a bank if you have a bank account and wait for it for 2 weeks if you have the ability and the luxury of waiting. But if you don't, the cost of waiting to get paid is high. And if you don't know what that cost is, I suggest when you get out in your car the next time and you're driving somewhere, and if you see a payday lender, or in your bank statement, if you see an overdraft fee ever, or if you see a late fee, that is the cost of waiting to get paid for millions of people. For some, it could be just a mistake. I missed a payment and I got to pay a late fee. But for millions of people, that is the cost of waiting to get paid. Roughly $200 every month. Over 50 million people in America pay that, and they pay about $150 billion a year in these fees. So that's what my company does, helps them avoid those costs. And we do it for millions of people now. It is also very sort of nerve-wracking sometimes and emotionally difficult to process that sometimes it's for $40, $50, $60, $30 that people get into these terrible situations. And they're willing to lose their dignity and their pride. They're willing to lie, all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, at this point, I think some of those questions are far too complex to go into a discussion here. People are in pain and they are vulnerable, and something needs to be done. So what are we doing about it? I'll give you another example here that when I look at when I look at America, I think of freedom and I think of liberty. That's how I look at America. I mean, from a lens that America, freedom. America, choice. America, freedom. And I'm, a naturalized American, so I have a view and a lens on America because I've seen the rest of the world as well. So I look at America, I say freedom. What is freedom? Freedom is access. To me, freedom is access. That's nothing different. It's access. We have to have access to our rights, to medical supplies, to food, any type of assistance, fairness, justice, access. America is about access. And you cannot hold back access from people. And my whole thing is, the bottom line is, access should be on demand, whether it's health, whether it's something else. You should get it because that's what America is about. It's about access. So with that spirit, I built this company that millions of people in America today don't have access. And that was before January 26th. Millions of people will not have access, many more millions, when we come out of this crisis. So what can we do? What can even a government do in this situation? I think it is impossible. It is impossible that anything can be done by one entity or a government trying to help everyone. We have to all help each other. So that is how I think about it, that we as business people, will do the rebuilding process. Money can come and but capital has to move. And we will make capital move. We will get people back into the workplace and so on and so forth. And moving on from that, I went ahead and asked my company that let's run a survey over a few tens of thousands of people and see what are they really thinking. And 25% said that we don't think we are going to get anything from any stimulus. Because we are not talking about, first of all, the word stimulus is a misnomer. It's really recovery. It's stimulus kind of in, oh, we get stimulated. This is about, there's a hole that we are filling. Before the hole gets, you can't, the bucket is empty. So if you're putting water in a bucket. So 25% of the people said, what stimulus? I don't know. I don't know where I'll get any money. I'm just hunkering down. Don't know what will happen. Somebody will help me. God is great. I heard these terms from people. It was amazing. We have chat sessions. We have, calls from people, and these are the things they say. And so there's a whole class of financially excluded people that are out there. And so I said within my company that what can I do for this? What can I do? And what can we do? And I'll give you an interesting example, which I think we go live on Sunday. Last week, have you ever thought of working with the city? Or it's hard, right? Bureaucratic, lot of process. Somebody contacted us and said, there's a challenge in New York City. And we need to find a way to deliver food. So I said, okay, so what can we do about it? Well, there are no Uber drivers anymore because they are mostly civilians in that sense, and they're scared and they're at home. And the city needs to get food delivered to tens of thousands of locations every day. So I said, okay, so what do I do? So they said, well, the cab drivers have stepped up. And I don't know if most of you know that New York City has about 15,000 cab drivers. I didn't know that. Now I know it. And these cab drivers said, we are going to go out and do the deliveries for you. And the city said, okay, what do you need? Well, give us some money every day because we need that money too. We do go to our home at the end of the day, end of the shift, and we have families to feed. Because there is no cab. People are not hailing cabs right now. We stepped up, we worked with the city, and the city said, okay, we're going to start. And we figured out a way for the cab drivers to get their money faster. And it's not money that the city owes them that money anyway, but the city is not in a position to give it every day. So this was an example. How ingenuity or circumstances or whatever. And what was the solution? Pay them their wages before the sun sets, which of course was true 2,000 years ago in Deuteronomy 24:15. So that's all it was. What a blind spot we exist with in society. So that's the New York cab driver's story, which I find fascinating. And within maybe 96 hours, mountains were moved and a city contract was drafted up. This is what we can do. So I say, don't be scared. It will be all right because let the pressure build. And I think businesses and people will rise up in ways you can't even imagine. And I hope we don't get to that state, but we will. We have that. I have that confidence. So what did we do? So this is just an example. So the first thing I did about, it seems like it was the 16th of March, Monday at 7:30, I left the office. The county of Santa Clara declared that you better leave. And I was the only one left, and it was 7:38 p.m. I left and I said, what the hell are we going to do? Are we going to die as a business? And I said, what business are we in? We are in the business of serving end users, people, etc. And what I did at that point did three things. And I said, we'll go to every user and we'll waive all our fees. And we did that immediately. A few $1 million. I could do it, right? I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. Then I said, we're going to make a 501c3 foundation. All these big companies we work with, the Visas, the Ubers, the ADP, Paychecks. I'll go to every one of them shamelessly. and I'll say, I have a direct line to the hourly worker. I solve the last mile problem. Small businesses are hurting. Let's do something and let's see what happens. Believe it. I mean, I'm sure you can believe it. Everyone responded. Amazing. Over $5 million were put in the foundation. And then Visa said, we're going to do this. And I don't know, am I allowed to say these things or not or whatever, don't care. And Visa said, we're going to do it. And I'm actually not going into the Visa call to be here. And, security benefit and insurance company said, we'll put $2.5 million in. Amazing, crazy. Then I said to myself, okay, we've got this money, which we can, find ways to give to people. And some people questioned, are you in the business of charity or growth? I said, I'm in the business of survival. I'm going to last this out. And I'm going to show that a purpose-based business will survive. I will reinvent myself. If 6 months pass and we get out of this, and at that time my business doesn't exist, or my business model doesn't exist, doesn't mean I'm going to die. I'm going to find a way to serve humanity because I am an entrepreneur, accidental or otherwise, notwithstanding, but that's what I'll do. I'll go and find ways to serve people. So I know everyone doesn't want to or should think like that, but that's how I was thinking, because this is that kind of moment. GM became a company which will produce ventilators. How beautiful is that? Somebody who's, next we'll hear that there are Versace face masks. Why not? Or Pierre Cardin has done something. Why not? Let's do everything. So this is how, there's this interesting tidbit that a friend of mine who's got a good restaurant and all that. And what am I supposed to do? Nobody comes here. And I said, take the linen cloths, linen tablecloths or beautiful tablecloths that you have and make masks for people. I know it's flippant, but I'm just saying, think like that. So that was a point I wanted to make. So having said that, I don't have much else to say. I'm convinced that we are going to be all right because we are a business. We are going to be all right because we know how to take capital and turn it into more capital. I take this as a crisis. It's not a black swan event. I think it will be contained and I think we'll be out of it. So there's no gloom and doom in my life. I know a lot of people who are terribly devastated, but I think my duty is to serve humanity, and that's what my business is designed to do, and I'm serving humanity. With that happy note, thank you very much, and questions, please.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Safwan, from everything from the videos to some of the more recent examples. And we do have a number of questions that are coming in from the community right now. One thing I want to do before we get into some of the questions from the community is for those who joined a little bit late or might not be familiar with your current business model. You started referencing that at the end there of how you take capital and make more capital. Can you just give a brief overview for folks of what PayActiv does on a daily basis, kind of pre-COVID-19, to set the stage for some of these questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to, so we work with businesses. So we are a business to business company. We work with typical time and attendance and payroll systems. Employers don't pay us anything. It's free of cost to the employer. If they want to pay something, they can, but they don't have to. They tell their employees that don't do payday advances, don't do late fees. You have a voluntary benefit that the company is offering. Go download this app. And in that app, you'll see what your earnings are up to that point. If you've made $500 up to the 7th day of a 2-week pay cycle, you can get half of that from this company. So my company will fund that. And we will give the money to the employee. On the day of payroll, the employer will reimburse us. Now, what does it cost to the employee? If they use our pay card, our Visa card, nothing. We don't charge anything. You just direct deposit on our card and we are good with that. We live on the interchange you make on the card. If you do not have our card, then we have to find a way to support the cost of cash that we're giving out. And we have the processing and all that. So we charge, if you use it once in a 2-week cycle, 1 day, you pay us $1. And we'll move the money to your bank account. And there are many other services that we offer in that whole process. So that's what we do. And we do it for a little over 1,000 businesses. Walmart is one of the users, and 435 senior living centers and hospitals use us for their custodial, janitorial, and other staff. Even nurses use us, sometimes doctors use us. That's one way to describe what we do.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I think that will address, William was asking about how the cost to companies and employees. So your answer was able to help him address that. One other question that's coming in from Lily about the model is how you keep people from being overly indebted to the company. So if there's a cap on that, and how they make sure that they're not working for the company kind of in perpetuity. And looks like you might have a tool here to help share that.
Yeah, so the great question. First of all, they are not taking a loan from the company. They can leave the same day. The money they took, the company owed them. So I have to find a polite way of saying it. The debt is not by that user, really. It's the company which owes the money. We are taking a loan from employees as business people. There's no other way to look at it. And paying them 2 weeks later. Our vendors pay upon delivery. Our customers pay and go to Starbucks and say to Starbucks, oh, hey, I'll have my coffee right now, but I'll pay you in 2 weeks. Starbucks will say, go get out. But the person behind the barista waits 2 weeks to get paid. Tell your landlord I'll pay you, after, everyone's getting paid in advance. Employees are getting paid in arrears. Give it whatever name you like. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think that's helpful to explain it with an example like that, and the advance versus the arrears. Looks like you have, do you want to show us here the complete financial wellness solution that you brought up on this?
I just thought I'd put it up so people can see what I'm talking about. This is the bank for the underbanked and the underserved. This is 75 million people in America who have, what choice do they have today? They earn and they live off their earnings. They don't have savings. The data says they don't. So they clock in, they clock out. We do tips for restaurant employees, federal minimum wage for a tipped worker is $2.13. The federal minimum wage for a driver is $5 per hour. Then the employer has to make them whole through whatever the minimum wage is in that region. So people pay by electronic means. So sometimes restaurant owners don't have the cash to give them every day, because people are paying by credit and all that. So all these things are the cost of waiting to get paid. Then those employees get into financial binds. So this is how you have two earnings, you have wages and you have tips. So we take care of both.
Thanks. I think that's very helpful. You spoke a little bit, Safwan, about how you think everybody has to do their part, particularly now in supporting those hourly workers. And you talked about how not just business and government, there's a number of aspects to this. We have a participant that asked a question about if you are seeing a trend where employers may begin to change their payroll processes to be more of these on-demand type services.
I hope that day comes. It has, I think, some underlying technicalities, because, as a technologist who attempts to disrupt value chains, one would have thought that Comcast would have invented Netflix, and Barnes and Noble would have invented online book commerce, and Walmart would have invented Amazon. So I always say that, I wish ADP would have invented PayActive, and Paychex would have invented PayActive. I exist as an interface in both ADP and Paychex. In fact, I don't know, I didn't mention that. I felt day before yesterday, there was Paychex is a large payroll company in America. They serve 670,000 businesses and 11 million people get their payroll from there. And ADP is another 700,000 businesses and about 20 million people get their payroll from there. Both are our partners. And both are our partners because they don't do this. And there may be 2 or 3 reasons, and I've dug deep into it in my book. A payroll company makes money by first getting money from the employer, holding it for overnight, and then giving it to the employees. A typical payroll company has money from hundreds of thousands of employers. It's about $19 billion overnight, which generates 2.1% in float revenue. So these companies make money on holding money for 1 night or 2 nights. That's their business. People think that businesses make money by delaying wages. No, businesses don't make much. It's the payroll companies. Not that it's bad, it's their business model. If they start giving money on demand in real time, then their business model could be jeopardized. But I say in the world of efficiency, if Netflix comes around, do you die or you reinvent? So that's the kind of thinking. So payroll companies should consider doing that. And I'm sure they will, because 2/3 of their users need it.
Yeah, I love, I think many people in the community are resonating with how you're talking about this being an opportunity for transformation and evolution on the other side of whatever the current situation looks like. For folks that are listening who might be hearing about PayActive for the first time, what is the way that they can get engaged with you if they're in a company or in an industry where they do want to support hourly workers in the way that you're providing here? What's the best way for them to do that?
Sorry, the question is how they could start?
Yeah, how they can get started with you if this is the first time they're hearing about it and want to get started.
Yeah, so there is payactive.com, www.payactive.com. I'm Safwan at payactive.com. Please call me. Please send me a message. That's one easy way. There are forms and all kinds of clever things that websites have to get the information. But if you could just refer to my name and say that you're from the Conscious Capitalism community, I think we will, everybody in the company knows how what matters. So we'll do everything in our power to get you going. You can also get our service from Paychecks and ADP, because many of you that are over there, I know a lot of senior leaders in the Conscious Capitalism community use us, and they know about us, but you can get it from your payroll provider. You can get it, if you use Kronos, you can get it from Kronos. You just tell them that I want PayActive. We are on their website. You can find our data. You can get it from ADP. You can get it from Paychecks, but you can certainly get it from us.
Great, thanks, Safwan. And I know a number of the participants were also with us at the CEO Summit when you first spoke to the Conscious Capitalism community about this, and folks were signing up, I think, in a matter of days with you to utilize this service. So we really do have some great success stories of folks in the community that can also talk about how that service is supporting their network. We have a question coming in from Corey Blake, who is actually asking, what do you say to business owners who want to serve but don't see ways to serve as clearly as you have? What would be your advice to them?
Okay. What is business for? I mean, I don't think I'll argue with them because I'm too old for that. But I think, an example that I gave you the example that if you're in the restaurant business and if that is going to change, because nothing's going to go away. We will still need to eat. We will still, like I was just thinking for a moment and during my day, what happened to my dry cleaner? I mean, where is Holiday Cleaners right now? Should I call him? Should I find out? Are people washing clothes? What happens then? I mean, these are the kind of things I'm thinking about, right? What happened to that restaurant that was in the corner and what will they do? And I'm thinking, what could they do? And one example I gave you is, maybe flippant, but they'll have to think very hard. And I think to serve, what are we in business for? Yes, to make money, but also to keep our customers. And to keep our customers, we have to have a community centricity to our business. There is no business without a community centricity to it, right? There is no other way to do business. You cannot dehumanize a business in like, I have no connection with the community or society or whatever. So in this moment, every business has to ask the question, what can I do within my community? I know so many people when our kids were growing up, and all my examples are based on my own experience. I was fascinated that the guy who sold burgers in our street, had a great burger joint, would coach my daughter on softball. And I was saying, why? And I looked at him, and he was the most amazing person. He had built a community around his store. And now, what does McDonald's do? McDonald's will be fine. They also are in a community. So I say this is the time of a revisit to the social contract between the business and the customer. It's about what are we in it for? When people say powered by something, I say no, it's served by something. So it's a way on how you think about it. So Corey, my answer would be it's about your spirit, the DNA of the business. Business makes money from other people, and there are other people you serve. And we will have to find new ways to serve because humanity will be fine. We just have to we have to change the way we serve humanity.
I love all the ways that your clear servant leadership and kind of servant heart shows up, Safwan, in the way that you answer and the way that you're thinking about business and your role. We have Amita from the community is picking up on some of those same themes and wants to know if there's an opportunity that you would love to capture via your business that hasn't materialized yet. You spoke before that your business might look very different in 6 months because of our current circumstances. Is there any opportunity that you're seeing that you might want to capture that hasn't materialized yet?
Yeah. That's a great question. I'm so greedy. I want so much, and I know exactly what I want. In America, there are 11 million people who cannot have a bank account because their balances are below $1,000, and the bank charges them $10 fee for having a minimum balance, and they don't know better. In America, there are 20 million people who are, literally underserved, underbanked. If I have a dream, and if I say it this way, America suffers from financial exclusion. We went from good to bad. The rest of the world suffers from financial inclusion. They don't have an identity in millions of people in Africa and India and other countries. In America, we have rights, we have access, we have identity, we have liberty, and we have freedom, but we are financially excluded. If I had my way, I would say I would like to be the bank for the underserved in this country. They should not be screwed. How do I get there? I don't know. But I'm trying.
That is a beautiful vision. I hope that becomes a reality sooner rather than later.
And then the very specific things like we're trying to get, the federal government has this, the last mile problem, how to get money into the hands of people. So we are trying to get into that discussion and debate. To me, those are tactics. I mean, sometimes people say, Safwan, you're no better than a Band-Aid. And I say to them, listen, next time your child gets a cut on her wrist, don't put a Band-Aid there. Take her to surgery and wait for it. You need everything in, this is the way I think about it. Better or for worse.
And to bring it a little bit more back to the tactical side of what folks are faced with right now, you spoke before about some of the, even though it's being called stimulus, I agree with you that it's more about recovery than stimulus, but some of the funds that are being distributed by the government and others like Chamber of Commerce. Deborah is asking if you guys are involved at all in helping to get those funds distributed to employees.
Yes, we are. We can do three things immediately. We are in discussion. It's called the CARES, C-A-R-E-S program. 7A is the specific section that we are looking at. We partner with many banks. All the banks that we partner with, we have said that we have access to small business data and their payroll data. Because this is a special type of a loan which will be forgiven. If you don't fire anyone for 2 months or 60 days or 30 days, and you keep them on staff, then the government will give you money to pay the payroll, and it's a forgivable loan. So we have access to lots of such businesses. So we are working with our banks, and they're, everyone's busy. So we are doing that. So that's one specific thing we are doing. The second thing is we also have tens of thousands of users of our Visa card. And there are people who do not technically have a bank account. So we can move money to them instantaneously. So if somebody told, like we're doing that today through our foundation and other things, if somebody needs $100 and they don't have earnings, and we're not a lender, I can't lend money to anyone. So we just say, okay, your hardship is very difficult, we'll give you $100 and no questions asked, forget about it. So that everyone's doing. So we are doing that too. Maybe we're doing it at a slightly larger scale. So these are the few things, but the SBA CARES stuff, we are also talking to the payroll companies who use the ones that have connected with us, and we have customers on that if we can be the ones to move the money to the employees, so we'll be ready to do that.
Great, Safwan. And similarly, Dr. Ashley in Tennessee is asking if you're working with religious organizations right now who don't have those traditional payroll systems, and if and Pablo is wondering if you're operating in countries outside of the US.
So we are denominational, non-denominational, Baptist, Jewish, anyone. We're working with everyone. Nazareth, so many businesses. They sometimes don't even, and not only are we working with them, but sometimes, somebody will come to us who has 4 employees and they do payroll by hand. My company will not say no, because we do not work for the business. The business didn't pay me. I don't charge the business a penny. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the DNA of what we do. We work for that $12 an hour human being. So we work with everyone. Short answer, we work with everyone. Come one, come all.
That's great. I think that's going to be very helpful.
And for Pablo.
Yes.
Pablo, we are in Australia. We're also in, of all places, in Myanmar. We are also trying to go live in Brazil for some time. We were also ready to go live in the summer in the Philippines, but the crisis hit. So I don't know what will happen. Most call centers in the US have tens of thousands of people in the Philippines who take the calls, and they're hit hard too. So we have great intent and plans to go international.
Thanks, Safwan. And it sounds like there's at least a few members who are sending questions in our community that might have some connections and support to help you with that dream of becoming the bank for those who are unbanked. So Deborah is asking if you've been in talks with any of those corporate foundations that maybe you are working with currently that you referenced. She's happy to connect and discuss further as well.
Okay, thank you, Deborah, and we'll take it offline for sure. I use the word bank. I want to be a service provider. So that's the probably different way of looking at it. I can see some of the questions here. They're fascinating.
Yeah. Ty is asking us along the same lines, what you need today to accelerate your mission to serve the underserved, and if there are some specific ways the community can help you.
What we have done is we need to go into more and more businesses. Businesses need to see this as a necessity to improve morale and to engage the workforce. This should not even be a benefit. This should be fact of life. As somebody said, that why don't payroll companies do it? And this is a fact of life. So every business, any business that's out there who has 10, 15, whatever, and 1,000, 10,000, even if you have 500 people, this is a fact of life. Just like you have to have a payroll, you have to have a system like this. So if whoever is out there in whichever business, the debate is over, right? The reason I gave you the before and after condition in those videos, the reason I told you what it was like is January was because it was a question mark. People would ask me that, I never, my parents never let me take money, or I couldn't eat between meals, or people should not be paid. And they call it early. They call my service, my company's service, early. Early relative to what? Relative to what? The payroll is a line that you drew, society drew. And same thing, advance. Advance relative to what? Because of a rule we said it was an advance, right? It's the same thing like my grandmother would say, oh, you can't eat between meals. Why can't I eat between meals? Who designed? I'm hungry. so it's that kind of a thing. Or you can't work out at 11 in the night. Why can't I work out at 11 in the night? There must be a reason somewhere. But so it's those kinds of things. Why can't I be paid every day if I want to? That's how I ask. So these are the ways that I would say everyone who's out there, your businesses, small and large, the debate is over. I mean, 2 years ago, I came to the conscious capitalism stage and everybody was stunned and surprised, really. And people still get stunned and surprised. I get interviewed by reporters and, oh, really? And I say, yeah, this is still unique to you. And they say, yeah, we never heard about it. So get the word out. I think that's the help I could use.
And there are a number of folks who are sending in some specific suggestions. Safwan shared his email address before and is always open to some suggestions there. We have folks recommending working with social enterprises in Honduras, as well as working potentially with janitorial companies. So I think there's lots of opportunities there.
Janitorial companies, absolutely. We are working with so many. We work with teachers. They get paid 9 months of the year. We have school districts. We have janitorial companies. We have security guards. We have drivers. We have caregivers. So yeah, those are our customers and we serve them.
Yeah, I think that is it's very eye-opening, as you were sharing, I think, with members of the community who don't necessarily, either they don't work with a lot of hourly employees themselves, or because they're at a certain level inside the company, don't understand the impact that this can have on daily lives. So I think that—
And banks use us, some very large banks, not one, not two, not five, but more than that, who use this for their tellers.
Yeah.
Because, these are the kind of, one of the most fascinating thing I discovered is, I didn't even think of that, is that many businesses that are in retail, when they use us, the theft from their own staff reduces, because employees sometimes steal a box of Cheerios and sell outside. Because they don't get paid more timely.
Yeah. There are a few questions. I think we'll have time to maybe do one or two more questions. I'm going to try to combine. We have both Jackie Fitzgerald and Catherine Brune, I'm sorry how to pronounce your last name, but are both asking about savings. So they're wondering if there's a savings component to your service, or if that's something that you've considered exploring, if not.
Yeah, absolutely. About 4 or 5 years ago, and I have to tell you why that savings problem, because nothing that we do is based on what others do. It's based on the user. And I went out and asked every one of my colleagues who are all salaried, and you can do this experiment in your business, place of business. And I said to them, how much do you make per day? None of my colleagues in my company could answer that question. They said, what, it's a 31-day month? Is it a 30-day month? And, I get paid whatever, $10,000 a month and divided by 31. But what happens in August versus September? So nobody knew the answer. So I went out and I was just sitting there and I saw somebody, he was actually the facilities person of that building. And I asked him and I said, hey, how much do you make per day? I was just on this little high that I was going around asking people this question. And he said to me, I make $114.30. So I said, how the hell do you know that? Are you some kind of mathematician or what? He says, I know exactly how many hours. I know my daughter's backpack costs 3 hours. That's what the mother tells the daughter, that daddy will have to work 3 hours for you to buy the backpack. So she says, oh, I don't want daddy to work 3 hours. So he says, I know exactly. So I said, okay, went back. We sat with the engineering team and we designed a savings product, and it's out there. People use it, which says, do you want to save 5 minutes a day? An hourly worker does not save that way that you think. They have envelopes they put under a mattress and all kinds of crazy things they have to do. They are the most disciplined about savings. because their survival is connected to it. So our savings product is actually there. It's quite popular. We're always improving it, and we're going to launch it in a big way very soon again. And it's used today. You basically go and you say, I want to save 5 minutes a day. That money is not accessible to you. And at the end of the 2-week cycle, that money goes into an account that you set up. You can open a separate account, or we'll open it for you. And you deposit it there, and it's freely available. We don't charge anything for it.
Thank you so much, Safwan. And I know that there are a number of questions that we were not able to get to. As a reminder, the community conversation will continue in our Slack channel. And Safwan is also open to, as he shared with you, hearing from you, and you're welcome to communicate with him as well if you have some other outstanding questions there. Thank you once again, Safwan, for everything that you are doing, the way you're helping us look at the world differently, serve our stakeholders differently, and for joining us today on this session. It is deep gratitude, and I think we got a lot of amazing information over to our community members. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you wouldn't mind letting me share my screen real quickly for our closing session, that would be great. I appreciate that. Wanted to remind everyone, thank you once again for joining us today, and to remind you that we'll be here same time, same place to be in community. And tomorrow is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to be facilitating some conscious connections over a longer period of time. So at the end of the week, if you want some of that heartfelt connection in a large, small group setting, please join us tomorrow, and have a great rest of your day. It was wonderful to be with everyone. Thanks again, Safwan.